Focus on a little bit on the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump imposing sanctions on Chinese and Hong Kong officials in the past few days, also calling for a ban on two Chinese-owned apps, TikTok and WeChat. With the U.S. elections looming, how will the U.S.-China trade war affect Africa? Well, let's unpack some of this now with international relations professor John Stramler. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for your time on this national public holiday here in South Africa. Donald Trump, why is he doing what he's doing currently against China and their officials?
Well, Dan, if I could understand why Trump does and says what he does, he's unlike any president I've ever observed in my lifetime, going back to Harry Truman in late 1940s. But on a serious note, the Chinese-American relationship is extremely important, obviously, and has reverberations throughout the world. In this case of the announcement sudden announcement on Thursday that he would be restricting U.S. companies' transactions with WeChat and with TikTok. You know, WeChat is a huge piece of the business of Tencent, and Naspers, our own company based down in Cape Town, owns 31% of that huge platform, which indeed is bigger than WhatsApp. It serves primarily a Chinese audience, but we South Africans have enormous stake in what happens with regard to this summary criticism that Trump has issued, but you can't understand what the statement means, really. It's very confusing because it talks about transactions and it's going to affect American companies that operate in China, but also whether or not they can be working in the U.S., which is primarily for WeChat, the Chinese diaspora. So anyway, there's the technology dimension, there's the trade dimension, there's the human rights dimension, and there's the elections dimension. And a sidelight, Dan, just quickly, last night there was an announcement by the U.S. intelligence officer, Bill Anchania, who monitors foreign interference in U.S. elections. And the Russians are active in support of Donald Trump in this election. And the Chinese, if you can get this, are active in support of Joe Biden. And the Iranians are just trying to disrupt the elections as ever they can. But whether this makes a difference in the outcome, who knows? But for the moment, I think you just take a deep breath and figure that 3 months away from the election, whatever Donald Trump says about the U.S.-China relationship has to be seen in that light. He may not be in power next year.
Is it a way as well, or as I've seen some commentators are suggesting, he could be deflecting criticism over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S.?
Absolutely. Perfect point.
So now, what is he hoping then would happen if people are now focusing on the U.S.-China trade war? Because I also see that he's he's proposing the delisting of Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges.
Well, he says a lot of things. And, you know, don't forget he was schmoozing with Xi Jinping in Beijing and then in Mar-a-Lago early in his administration. And ironically, one of the reasons why the U.S. was slow out of the blocks in coming to terms with the COVID crisis back in January was because he was trying to get this first phase of the China-U.S. trade deal negotiated. He takes a very limited transactional view and does not look, and it doesn't think strategically or it doesn't appear to look comprehensively to the complex relationship that, you know, affects Africa and everybody else in the world, and is vital to the U.S. playing some sort of constructive role for its own interests, but not getting itself boxed in. And he keeps boxing the U.S. in by making these statements which do detract from the other problems that he's got. And he's, I guess, hoping to change the agenda. He's always looking for issues like this, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. But after January 20th, when the new administration, whether it's Trump or Biden, is inaugurated, there will have to be a priority given to understanding and rebuilding some sort of a working competition relationship with the Chinese. And I think Xi Jinping is smart enough to sort of hold his breath and wait for another 3 months to see what will happen. So I'm not expecting that there'll be really too much of a collision. On the other hand, it does affect the JSC and the stock markets of the world because Tencent is such a big player, as is TikTok.
And I'm sure NASPACE is going to be watching that very closely, those developments there. But back to the election as we conclude, Prof. Well, we'll see Trump, from what you're saying, continue to pile up pressure maybe in his anti-China campaign as he's trying to regain popularity among American voters. I mean, he's being challenged by Joe Biden. If Joe Biden were to fare very well in the elections, what could that mean for Africa, if anything?
That's a complex subject, but let me just cut to the core of what I see as the difference. Donald Trump is a white ethnic nationalist. You can say that white ethnic nationalism has driven U.S. policies since the founding of the Republic, but nevertheless, this has come to light now against the backdrop of the Black Lives Matter movement and the COVID and the economic crisis, and Joe Biden will be trying to unify the country. Joe Biden has a task not unlike Cyril Ramaphosa here, and by the way, I think both Cyril Ramaphosa and Joe Biden would hit it off quite well at the personal level because they think similarly about the need to build national unity in a constitutional democracy. Trump is an ethnic nationalist, no different than Putin or Bolsonaro or Modi. And I just think that we're going to be in a very new game, and I hope that the South African policy planners and elsewhere in Africa are looking to engaging a Biden administration early and constructively because he does seem to have a steamroller going with regard to winning this election if Trump doesn't steal it.
Thank you very much, Professor John Stramler, for your insights, as usual.